listening to the Life Edit Project podcast, where busy, ambitious high achievers get the tools they need to fight overwhelm and overthinking with balance, self-mastery, and a positive mindset. I'm your host, Elizabeth Burrows. I'm serving up bite-sized truth bombs in a judgment-free zone based on my perspective as a life coach, wife, mom, and recovering overachiever. We keep it real over here, which usually means some combination of insightful, entertaining, and a hot mess express. So, if you're looking for perfection, look elsewhere. But if you're still with me, let's dig into this week's episode. I have a question for you. What does it mean to create balance in your life? What does it look like? How do you know that you've achieved a state of balance in your life? This is a super important question, and it's exactly what I'm going to be talking about tonight on this live stream. So pull up a chair, grab your notebook, pen and paper, tune in because it's going to be a lively discussion. Before I dig in, let me just say, let me introduce myself. My name is Elizabeth Burrows. I am the founder here of the Life Edit Project. I'm a life coach, I'm a productivity coach, and I work with busy high achievers, and I help them create balance in any area of their life. And of course, that means I talk a lot about balance over here on my corner of the interwebs. And it occurred to me that even though I talk a lot about balance, and even though I talk a lot about how my whole goal is to help you as my client achieve balance and create balance wherever you need, I don't talk a lot about what balance is specifically. And I want to fix that tonight. Tonight, I'm going to actually redefine balance. Like, we're going to peel this back. We're going to examine it. And I'm going to do that by giving you 3 characteristics of what balance looks like so that you can recognize it in your own life. And so that you know what it means when I say I want to help you create balance. All right. Before I dig in, if you're digging this live stream, if you like my content, this information, if you find it helpful, throw me some likes, some hearts, and share this broadcast so that this message can reach other people, because lots of people need to hear this. Are you ready? Let's go. Okay. So 3 characteristics of balance, 3 ways to recognize balance. The first is that balance is dynamic. Balance is dynamic. And when I say dynamic, I mean that balance is an active state of responsiveness, right? I think a common misconception that a lot of people have is that if your life is balanced, then it's going to be still and calm, right? But I really find that to be a misconception. That's not necessarily what balance will look like. And in fact, if you are operating from the assumption that balance has to look like calm and stillness, it becomes very easy to confuse balance with a state of stagnation. Y'all didn't hear me. If you think that balance equals calm and stillness, it becomes very easy to confuse balance with stagnation. But this is a problem because stagnation does not last. Stagnation does not allow you to respond to the changes and shifts in your life. Whereas if you are in a state of dynamic balance, you get to respond to the changes in your life without losing your balance. So the example that I really want to use here is yoga. Okay, so I like yoga. Think about, and lots of people, even if you don't do yoga, if you have ever watched someone do yoga, you will probably get this reference. So if you are going to hold a yoga pose, right, and you're going to hold it from a balanced position, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be still and completely unmoving in that position. Now, if you're looking at Pinterest, right, you're looking at the fancy snapshots, You might be thinking of the image of someone who is completely still captured in one single millisecond in time where they're beautifully holding that tree pose or whatever, right? But if you're actually watching someone do a yoga sequence, they're not still. When they are holding a pose, there's lots of little muscles that are engaged and large muscle groups that are engaged. And there might even be some wobbles, right? And someone who is balancing in a yoga pose is going to be in real time correcting for the wobbles, right? So that they can stay balanced. Balancing in a yoga pose, by definition, is a dynamic action. And it requires effort and energy in order to maintain that balance. And if you see me looking to the side here, it's because I definitely have notes that I'm looking at always, right? Because I don't want to forget anything important. Hey everybody, thanks for popping in. If you're enjoying this, throw me some hearts. Let me know that you're picking up what I'm laying down. So the first characteristic of balance is that it is dynamic. And when I say dynamic, I mean that balance is an active state of responsiveness. If you are trying to balance by only being still, then you are not actually balanced. And what that means is you're going to be as balanced as a house of cards. And any little shift in your environment, any shift of the weather, if the wind blows too hard, or if you roll your eyes too hard, or, if your partner has a mood swing too hard, right? Your house of cards will come tumbling down, right? You cannot simply be still to be in balance. You must be dynamically responsive. Okay. And I want to also say this before I move on from the point of dynamics. Not all positions of balance are equally easy. Right? And if I'm going back to my yoga example, some poses are easier to hold in balance than others. So if I'm going to talk about me and my yoga practice, it is easier for me to hold tree pose than it is for me to hold chair pose in balance, right? Now, I know for a fact that I can hold both of those positions well. And I know how to balance in both of those positions. But one of them requires much more dynamic effort from me than the other. They both require dynamic responsiveness, right? I have to, in both cases, be actively correcting for the wobbles in my balance, but one is easier than the other. Super important. Okay. Let's move on to the next point. So the first characteristic of balance is that it is dynamic. The second characteristic of balance, as we're going through this journey of redefining balance and what it means and what it looks like and recognizing it when we get there, balance is empowering. I just want to let that sit with you. Let that characteristic sit with you for a minute. Balance is empowering. And when I say balance is empowering, I mean that when you are in a state of balance, you can do more. You can carry more weight. You can have a broader range of flexibility from a place of balance than you can compared to if you are imbalanced. Y'all didn't hear me. You can do more, carry more, reach more when you are balanced than you can when you are operating from a place of imbalance, right? So balance in and of itself empowers you and supports you in being able to go further, do more, reach new heights, excel, reach new levels, whatever it is, right? If you are giving the illusion of balance and you add more to your plate, like think about whatever area of your life is in imbalance. If you add one more thing to that imbalanced place, you're going to lose it, right? You're going to topple over versus what you're able to withstand, what you're able to recover from, what you're able to bounce back from when you are actually balanced, Okay. So, So here's an example. I remember years ago coming across this guy's social media profile. I don't remember if it was Instagram or Facebook. I think it was before TikTok was even a thing. But there's this guy that goes around and he creates these really elaborate balanced stone structures, right? And you've probably seen stock images of these stones, right? They're usually like, different shapes and different sizes, but they're usually like long and round and pretty smooth, right? But they're balanced in ways that don't seem to make sense, right? And simple stone structures, right? These balanced stone structures are just kind of stacking them straight up in a line, right? And maybe, it seems a little illogical because there might be a teeny tiny stone on the bottom and the largest stone on top, and yet, it's maintaining its balance. It's not toppling over. Well, this guy goes around like at beaches and in deserts and places where you can find lots of rocks. And he creates these really elaborate stone structures that are all created with balance. And what's so cool is that sometimes these things are huge. Sometimes they're taller than him. Sometimes they're really wide. I've seen him do some where he's literally stacking up stones. He's not using any other props, no other tools or equipment. He's just literally taking the rocks and putting them together in a way where they're balanced, and he can create like little rainbow shaped bridges with just these pile of rocks, right? And some of the structures that he's able to create look like they just defy gravity. Like they literally don't look like they should be possible. They don't look like they should be able to stand up. But the whole thing that makes those structures possible, it's not the rocks, it's not the ground that they're on, it's the fact that he creates everything by finding the point of balance within the whole structure. And if he can find a point of balance, he can literally make those structures as big, as tall, and as wide as he wants based on how many rocks he has, right? He can literally just keep going. And this is what I mean when I say that balance is empowering for us. If we can find the point of balance in our lives, we can keep expanding. We can get bigger. We can reach for more. And it doesn't have to look like it makes sense. As long as it's balanced, it can work. So, balance is dynamic. Balance is empowering. And the third thing that I want you to know about balance as we're redefining it is that balance is ultimately sustainable. Super important. Don't miss this one. And this one's a twofer, okay? When I say that balance is sustainable, I have two different meanings that I'm referring to. So one, balance is sustainable in that you can sustain it, right? When you are in a state of balance, it means you can keep going, you can keep it up, you can maintain it for long extended periods, right? So that's one thing, one way that balance is sustainable. But the other way that I mean balance is sustainable, I'm thinking more about kind of the environmental definition of sustainable when we talk about like sustainable products. When I say balance is sustainable, I want you to know that the other thing it means is that balance allows you to meet your own needs without causing unnecessary harm to others. Oof, y'all don't hear me. Balance is sustainable in that it allows you to repeatedly, for extended periods, meet your own needs without causing undue and unnecessary harm to others in the process. By definition, if you are living at a breakneck pace, if you are going, right, and you are expending more energy than you can create or take in, if you are working under a workload that is just insane, if you have a stress load that feels unbearable, if you are living in an emotional state that causes your nervous system to constantly be in a state of emotional agitation or in fight or flight, baby, your life is not sustainable. right? Because none of those things can be sustained and maintained for extended periods, right? If you've ever had the thought, I can't keep going like this, you have experienced imbalance, right? So just think about the things or the areas of your life that trigger those types of thoughts for you. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep going like this, right? That right there, let that be a little alarm, a little ping, a little notification for you to spot imbalance in your own life, right? If you can reasonably predict that keeping up whatever that thing is will lead to your ultimate demise, it is unsustainable and you are out of balance. Okay? And also, but let's say you can see yourself like living a certain way for an extended period of time, right? That alone doesn't make it sustainable. It's got to meet both A and B criteria, right? You've got to be able to maintain it for extended periods, and it's got to be able to allow you to meet your own needs without causing unnecessary harm to those around you. So just because you can keep up with that, super demanding workload in your career, right? And the 80-hour work weeks in the office, just because you can keep up with that doesn't mean it's sustainable if the cost is harm to your family, harm to your marriage, harm to, your children, right? If it means you never get to spend time with the people that you love most dearly, right? Is that really sustainable? Is that really balance, right? So just because you can maintain something, if you have to wreck everyone around you in order to maintain that status quo, it's unsustainable and therefore it is imbalanced. Okay? So these are the three characteristics that I wanted to give you. I don't have a lot for you all tonight. This is going to be a super quick live. The three characteristics of balance that I want you to be mindful of, that I want you to be on the lookout for, so that you can spot balance and conversely imbalance in your own life, right? And here's the final point that I'm going to leave you with tonight. One characteristic that you did not hear me say about balance is that balance is not necessarily easy, right? Balance is not necessarily easy, right? So ease is not in and of itself a characteristic of balance. However, I do want to impress upon you the fact that over the long run, living a life of balance is easier than the alternative, right? So if balance is being dynamic, right? So actively responsive, if balance is empowering, and if balance is sustainable, then the alternative would be a life of stagnation, a life that is restrictive, and a life that is unendurable, right? When you compare those two things, balance, while it might not be easy per se, it's going to be easier than the alternative, than stagnation, restriction, and unendurable everything, right? So balance is the ticket, y'all. Balance is so crucial, and being able to correct for imbalance in your life is an amazing skill that anyone can learn to cultivate, right? And this is where I come in as a coach. I already said at the top of this video, I help my clients create balance in any area of their life where they need it, whether it's in their personal lives or in their professional lives, or even creating balance between their personal or professional lives, or anywhere else that is a combination of all of that, right? This is how I help my clients. I help my clients literally identify where the imbalances are. Now, you know, you can spot the imbalances, right? Because I told you one of the things you can look for is that thought or that feeling, I can't keep going like this. I can't keep this up, right? That is a surefire way to recognize imbalance in your life. And there are also other clues, other more subtle clues. So as a coach, spotting the imbalance is something that I help my clients with. And then I help my clients figure out what balance looks like for them specifically. Because at the end of the day, balance does not look the same for all of us. Balance is not a one-size-fits-all sweater, right? So my balance might look different than your balance. But that is a topic for a whole nother conversation. I hope this was helpful for you tonight, because this is where I'm going to get off of this live train. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor, give me some hearts, give me some likes, save this video, share this out with your timeline, with your friends, with someone that you think could use a little bit more balance in their life so that they know how to reach for the right kind of balance, okay? And if this was super helpful, and if you're like, oh, I absolutely 100% need more balance in multiple areas of my life, let me know how I can help you. My DMs are open. You can drop me a message. I would love to work with you. And if you are super interested in getting my help long term, you can sign up for my one-on-one coaching program. And that all starts with a simple conversation. Just tap the link that's in my bio to book a free sales call with me for my one-on-one coaching program. And we'll jump on a Zoom call. We'll talk all about the imbalance that you're feeling. And I'll give you a plan of how I can move you from imbalance to balance where it matters most. All right? That's all for now. Coach Elizabeth signing off. I hope you have an amazing evening or morning, depending on whenever it is that you're watching this. All right? Peace. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Life Edit Project podcast. I'd love to hear what your favorite moment or key takeaway was from this conversation. You can send me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter to let me know. My handle is @LifeEditProject, all one word, in all the places. My social media is linked up in the show notes to make it easy for you. Holla at your girl. I'll be back next week with another episode. In the meantime, don't just stay busy with the life you have. Get busy creating the life you want.